Tommy Scoville, and you were on the lifeboat. I'll give a special shout out to everybody that is hitting the thumbs up button on the way in. It really means a lot. And to all of you who are sharing the live, really, really appreciate that. People, we got some announcements tonight before we go live, and they are, this one is going to require you to really do me a huge favor. I know that I'm asking for a lot of those, aren't I? This one's a big one, people. This one's a big one. The lifeboat started on July 31st of, not last year, but the year before. We took a small break, and during that time, we realized how much that we needed it. We came back. About September the previous year, end of August, early September, I was joined by my partner in crime, the bobbleheaded Mark Wages, and it's been our dream to build this boat. Mark has got some stuff going on with his family that is going to make it impossible for him to be here. And there's just, this is a tough thing that we do, and things like yesterday really kind of hammer that home. This is tough. And when you've got something going on personally in your life, and you've got, dozens, if not, in some cases, hundreds of people reaching out to you. And that noise you hear is Squirrel, by the way. She's having a field day with watch parts. But Mark is going to be stepping away from the boat. Do me a favor, people, please. First of all, he's never leaving. Mark is half of the lifeboat and will always be half of the lifeboat. But he's not going to be joining us live on the shows. And you know what? He's got a lot that he does. He's never going to leave the boat, but he's not going to be a part of the live every single night. It's just not possible. And you're going to do me a huge favor. The favor is leave the guy alone for a little while he gets everything taken care of. I know everybody and their brother and sister are going to want to reach out and say, we love you. Squirrel, please knock it off. So everyone is going to want to have an opportunity to tell Mark how much they love him. And I think that that's great. I really do. But this isn't the time when Mark needs a lot of emails. In fact, I'm going to be asking people to not email Mark and give him a little bit of time. If you could do that for me, I would really appreciate that. He's earned it. He really has. He's been an amazing force and will continue to be an amazing force on the boat. It's just going to be different. And we're gonna miss him. He's going to pop in and do a show with us, every once in a while. He'll come back and it'll be fun as heck to have him on the other side of the glass. But for the time being, this is not something that he can be doing. And we're going to respect that. You know what I mean? This is what we do is hard. And throw in, other things going on in his life that are personal that we don't need to be asking him about, or there's just a lot going on in my partner's life. So, but have no doubt that the lifeboat will be here, and we're going to be continuing to do exactly what we do. One other thing that we need to, I would like some prayers, please, going out to Vicky. Vicky lost her brother yesterday. He had a very, very long bout with cancer, and she has shared that with me for a long time. She's talked about it, and it was one of those hospice situations where we knew for a really long time that she was going to lose her brother. And this morning, he went to the other side at 10 a.m. So thoughts and prayers for Vicky, because she's really a huge part of this boat, and we're probably not going to see her for a little while because she's going to have a lot going on. So that is that, and it is. It's always hard. It really is. It seems like it's been coming thick and heavy. The good news has just been really coming thick and heavy. But I want to appreciate all of you for all that you do and are continuing to do. And there's a lot of really cool stuff that's going to be coming down the pike, people. There are a lot of changes going on, and I think you're going to love every one of them. If you don't, you're going to tell me about them. We're going to fix them. It's always been that way. It's your boat. And, we're saving lives. We lose them. And it was a really great comment made about how, you really focus on the ones that you lose, but we're saving a lot of lives. We really are, people. We're saving a lot of lives. And you know what's even better? Honestly, you know what's even better? What's better is the dream of Tommy Scoville and Mark Wages is being picked up by a lot of people, and a lot of really good people are starting to bang the drum. Everybody that has stuck around, everybody that has talked about this growing epidemic it is now being talked about by channels considerably larger and considerably more powerful than the Lifeboat. And that's awesome. That's awesome. I just want to hear somebody else banging the drum. It would make me feel so good. Mark Fugel talked about it. It was last Friday's show. They talked about some of the people that you see over in on Kensington, which is just, if you've never seen that, you can look it up. Most of the people on the boat have seen it. But they talked about this growing epidemic. Also, a huge shout out to Rudy. If you don't know the Alaska Prepper, Rudy the Alaska Prepper, first of all, if you don't know him, I'm shocked. But Rudy did a very courageous video. When this is not your ballywick, when this is not what you really do and what you really talk about, to come out and talk about what's going on with this epidemic is risky to your brand, and you stand a chance to offend some people. He came out and did one heck of a show. If you haven't seen it, please go look at it. That's Alaska Prepper Rudy. Go watch the show that he did. It was today, I believe. It was the most recent video that he posted. I think he put it up today. It's incredible. It really is. It's incredible. He did a bang-up job, and it really did. It highlighted this stuff in ways that Noise Opera. Thank you, my friend. Also, big shout out to a new ensign, the Rabbit Hole to Hell, down the Rabbit Hole to Hell, I believe it's called. I may have said that wrong, and if I did, I don't want to get that wrong. So let's see what we got here. I can do this with my finger. Down the Rabbit Hole to Hell. Welcome, Ensign. We're pretty happy to have you here. You look great in green. People, I got touch screens. My big fingers now are not nearly the problem that they used to be. We're getting this set up the right way. So yeah, Alaska. Yeah, that's so if you haven't seen the Alaska Prepper video, please go and check it out. I promise you are not going to regret it. It is absolutely incredible. Really, really good stuff, And yeah, we're seeing a lot of stuff that says, thank you, Mark, for what you've done. You know what? How about a crap load of ones? How about there's 41 people here. How about 41 ones up there for Mark and for the amazing work that he did to make this dream come true. And he is not gone, people. I don't want that to be something that anybody thinks. Mark's never not going to be a part of the Lifeboat. He just needs this time. And you know what? I think it's going to be good for him. I really do. Welcome, Ensign. And another person that does a lot for the boat. That is looking good in green and doing a lot, and I mean a lot, of sharing of our videos and really pushing our stuff out there. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. So, Rudy, we've never met. Thank you, man. What a great video. What a great video. And it's courageous, people. It really is. For us, you know what I mean? We're a little channel. But for someone with 200,000 subscribers to talk about this stuff it takes guts. It does. And he did a bang-up job. Just good facts, solid stuff. In the future, we're going to be doing something similar to what Mark Fugel does, where we're going to start to footnote some of the things that I talk about. It's going to be a way to just make sure that everyone knows that I'm not just making this stuff up off the top of my head. And it's going to be, it's going to give people an opportunity to really get a look at this growing epidemic. By the way, we now own the name A Growing Epidemic. www.agrowingepidemic.com is now property of the Lifeboat. It has not been developed yet, but it is going to be. And we are going to do some stuff. I'm not kidding you, people. I don't want to use the term, but you know that term that people say when they're really hacked off? Okay, well, that's us. And you know what? We're making stuff happen. We really are. And other people who are bigger and better are making stuff happen. Really, really can't say enough that this is, Mark pushed this dream out. He really did. I congratulated him today, and I told him that I was going to tell everybody to please not send any emails. Give the guy a few weeks, and then you can send him an email and tell him what a great job he's done. But until then, let's let him work on his family and what's going on with him, all right? So I really appreciate that as a favor to me. Now, let's talk. So, we have some issues going on in this country that we've been talking about for a long time. I'm not going to yell today, I promise you, because there's no need to. But I'm going to talk about some things that we probably you haven't heard here before. When we talk about the number of people who die from this epidemic, it's very personal when it's somebody that we know. It is amazingly personal. But you get a lot of people who say a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense. You get a lot of Americans who say stuff like, there just aren't that many people, that are using this stuff, right? Pretty soon, everybody that does drugs is going to be dead. With the number of people who are overdosing, I literally read that in an article, that with the number of people overdosing, it won't be long before there aren't any left. So, I want to give you some statistics, because it's one of the dumbest things anyone's ever said out loud. Well, I'm sure they said it out loud before they typed it. But if you go back to 2014, they asked a question of people 12 years of age and up. Have you used drugs in the last 30 days? In 2014, 10%, 1 out of 10 people said, yeah, in the last 30 days. 1 out of 10 Americans. That was 2014. In 2019, that went up to 13.6% for the same question. More, right, than 1 out of 10. In 2020, it hit 14%. But the crazy thing is this: 37 million people, right, have used in the last 30 days. 37 million people have used in the last 30 days. But if you take that figure out to the entire year, have you done any illicit drugs of any kind in the last year? And what you come up with is 59.8 million people, right? Or 21%. 21%. Okay? We're talking about basically what? 1 out of 5? 1 out of 5 Americans over the course of the year is going to use an illicit substance. And you're not going to use an illicit substance in America today. I don't care if you're snorting it, shooting it, eating it. It's going to have fent in it. Why? Because we're being attacked. We are. And I'm not going to yell about that. But we're going to talk about some statistics that are pretty frightening. And you know what? There are other things going on that can't be quantified. We talk about these deaths. And as I said, the numbers, the government is claiming that the numbers are going down, which is ironic. It's ironic because they will tell you in one breath that the number of people who have overdosed, the percentages are up 180%. Then they'll tell you that we're going to lose less than 100,000 people this year. They're lying. No other way to put it, people. They're lying. And the amount of money that is being generated by this poison is now making the crack wars of the 80s look tame. Doesn't get played up in the news. It doesn't. But you guys know what happened in Goshen, California the other day, correct? 6 people, including a 16-year-old girl and her baby, who she was clutching in her arms, laying in a ditch out in front of a house that they had just shot up. They say that this was execution style that was reminiscent of cartel violence. And the press is already having a field day saying, well, you can't say it's cartel style. That house had been raided, right? There had been a drug raid on that house 7 days earlier. So a cartel hitman went to that house to ensure that nobody who was there was going to have any opportunity to do the wrong thing when the time came. That is very reminiscent of what the cartels do. If they think that there's a chance anyone's going to start to squeal or do anything else, they just eliminate them. This is not Tijuana. This is California, right? The violence that the cartels have been doing in their country for so long is spilling over into the United States. And it's doing it in a way that's terrifying. These people are killing each other for gang territory. And these gangs are now being supplied from south of the border by a lot more than just pills. They're being supplied with hardware. Yeah. For years, they've talked about the Iron River, right? That's guns from the U.S. that go down into Mexico. And then the drugs that come back and people trade guns. And well, now they're starting to arm people in the U.S. with guns that are coming across from Mexico. This is becoming a situation that is out of control. There are gangs fighting with the police. Google it. Again, the day is coming, people. A growing epidemic is going to be able to have all of these statistics so that you can look at all of this stuff. In the meantime, Google it. Google it. These people are fighting with the police. Respect is done. Fear is done. These people are saying this is our state. California's out of control. Why? Because it is where all of the dope is going into, right? California is bad, huge bad. Truthfully, Arizona, California, El Paso, Texas, what do all of these things need in a really big way is a wall. I'm sorry. I don't care about your politics. There needs to be a wall. And the really funny thing is, and Rudy highlighted this beautifully, by the way, on his video. He highlighted beautifully that it seems odd that we pay for walls. Massive amounts of money are being put out by the United States of America. And I don't care which party you're on because they're both signing off on these bills, right? We know that's a 50-50. It's about 50%, right? 50% Democrat, 50% Republican. Yet, there has been $870 million. $870 million given to build walls in the Middle East to protect countries from countries that surround them. Seem odd? Walls don't work. They told us that, right? That's not going to stop drugs from getting into the United States. So why are they sending $870 million to the Middle East to build walls? During the Obama administration, Barack Obama gave $75 million to build a wall on the southern border of Mexico. Does that make any sense to you people? Seriously, does it make you do this one here? Because I'll tell you what, it ought to. If this isn't working, then why are we helping the Mexicans build a border on the southern side? To stop what? It doesn't work, right? They told us that. And that's not even, people, that's not even close to where we're at. How about $500 million to Jordan, country of Jordan, so that they could build a wall between them and Iraq? $500 million. $500 million. But we're not going to build one on our southern border. Why? Because they don't work. That's what they told us. Politics be damned. This is about Jared. And hundreds of people a day just like him. You know, I try not to do these shows. But boy, oh boy, they need to be done. They need to be done. Right? We need to start holding politicians' feet to the fire on what the hell is going on. Why are we building border walls in other countries, but we're not building one in our own? Seeing as the number one cause of death is poison coming across our border from our enemy. Make no mistake, the beast from the east, this is their stuff, right? The half a pill that killed Jared came from chemicals from the beast from the east, right? Then people in Mexico built that stuff in clandestine. Are you kidding? They call them clandestine labs. Do you believe they're clandestine? You think they're hiding them down there? Or do you think that the governments down there don't care? The amount of money that is bringing into their country, I don't think they really much care about those clandestine labs. They're certainly not doing a whole lot to stop them. Not a lick, right? So where did we leave off? Jordan, $500 million in Jordan. How about Pakistan, Afghanistan? Billions of dollars, billions with a B of dollars of U.S. money, right, being sent outside of our country to build walls to protect other countries when the number one cause of death in our country is coming through our southern border. We need to raise a little hell. I'm not raising my voice, right? I'm not trying to scare anybody away. But we need to raise a little hell. This is out of control. And we're talking about the number of people who are eating a pill that is going to kill them. Let's go back to what we were saying in the beginning. Over the course of a year, 1 out of every 5 Americans is going to use an illicit substance. So illicit substances, we're not going to monetize anyway, right? They're going to shoot this down. So we're talking about blow, right? We're talking about all opiates, right? Pills, no matter how you playing on what you think you're getting, whether you think you're doing tar, you're not. you're doing fent. So benzodiazepines, right? The benzos on the street aren't coming from pharmacies. The benzos on the street are being pressed into pills south of the border, coming into the U.S., right? Adderall, amphetamines, fake, being pressed south of the border, brought into the U.S. So it doesn't matter what illicit substance you're doing, you're going to be getting fent in it. And since every single time they seem to get another big load, it's stronger than the one before it, how the hell do they say these numbers are dropping? I got news for you. They're not. They're absolutely not. In fact, yeah, benzos are brutal. Benzos are brutal when they're normal. There is a person on the lifeboat who is an individual who is taking buprenorphine. Buprenorphine is a medical-assisted treatment, the gold standard for helping people get off of opiates, right? It blocks the receptors. And this individual went into, it's in Mexican ice nowadays, absolutely is. This person went into precipitative withdrawal by taking a benzo. Let me tell you something, people. That doesn't happen, right? Though that's a drug that you can mix. It's got nothing to do with buprenorphine. Buprenorphine doesn't fight benzos. It doesn't happen. Unless, of course, the benzo you're taking has fent in it. In which case, you're going to be sick for about 30 hours. Not much you can do to make it stop either. It's one of the biggest nightmares in the world. You had that happen on... everything right now is fake. And we're talking about 56 million Americans. 56 point, let me see here so I don't misquote this. I'm sorry, 59. Yeah, we're talking about 59 million people are going to do illicit drugs this year. 59 million. That's from the ages of 12 on. There's no stats out there on people under the age of 12. But I got news for you. People under the age of 12 are doing drugs. Sadly, that's a fact. Now, when they say people doing drugs over the course of the year, illicit drugs, right? They're not talking about somebody that's going to a dispensary to get herb. That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the stuff that this poison is in. That's what we're talking about. And the precursors of this poison, right? We're going to get slick because that's what we do, right? We're smart as a country, geniuses. We're going to lean on them so that they cannot send out a precursor to make fent. You watch. That's what we're going to do. And you know what's going to happen? Nits. Because we're not going to get smart enough to say, all right, look, here's a list of 7,000 things that you're not allowed to send to our hemisphere. We're not smart enough to do that. We're not. I mean, what we did was we said, you can't send out fent. And they went, oh, okay. Here's all the ingredients to make fent. And we'll just ship them to Mexico in cargo containers. I'll tell you something else, people. They're getting very, very organized in ways that they never have been in the past, right? A lot of these stuff is coming across already pilled up, and they're catching it at the border. So now it's coming in tires. It's coming in all the ways that cocaine and other stuff used to come in powdered form. Why? Because you can buy a friggin' pill press on Amazon. You can even buy on Amazon the little thing that says 40, right? So you could put, 30. So you could put M30 on them and crank them out. Does this make a shred of sense to anybody hearing me? Does it make a shred of sense to anybody hearing me? I understand why someone might need a pill press. I do, right? If you're in the business of making nutraceuticals, or there are reasons to own pill presses. Why would there be a reason to have the dyes to make a fake Perk 30? Why would there be reasons to have the dyes to make Xanax bars? Can you think of a reason? Well, I can think of 400 reasons today, tomorrow, the next day, that they shouldn't be allowing this to happen. And you know the only way it's going to stop? Thank the Lord for cats like Rudy. Thank the world for people like Dex and Adam, big platforms who are starting to bang the gong about this. We're a little channel, people. We really are. We're a very little channel. We got big heart. We got big heart. We really do. But we're a little channel. I want to thank each and every one of you who reached out after last night's video to say, I will step up to the plate. Do you know the number of people who reached out and said, I'll answer emails, I'll do this, I'll do that. And you know what? I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of you. We've already got some people that are going to be picking up some of the slack on that right now. And with my bobbleheaded partner taking some time to be with his family, then this is something that is going to be needed. And the fact that you guys are stepping up to the plate is nothing shy of amazing. And you know what? Today, 2 people took their first doses of buprenorphine because of the lifeboat. That's you people. 2 people. 2 people, and I'm sorry, I don't want to offend, but they're not going to be Jared. 2 people who aren't going to be a statistic on a government chart, because buprenorphine will stop this from happening to people. The incredible thing is that there is a way to make this stop. And I know I'm going to get people who say, you know what? You know how bad that stuff is? I always get those emails. Compare it to fent. Seriously, compare it to fent. Let me know. Compare it to nitazines. Compare it to any opioid, right? We've gone over this before on the lifeboat, but if you haven't heard this before, there is a difference between an opiate and an opioid. An opiate starts off with a plant called the poppy. They slice the bulbs. They put these little slices, right? These things grow. They're actually a very beautiful flower, but they come to a bulb at the top. It's about inch and a half high. And they take a razor blade and they slice slits into the side of it, usually 3 or 4 around there. And then over the course of the next 5-6 days, the sap begins to run out of it. And they go by with little pieces of plastic, look like credit cards, that kind of shape. And they just scrape this goop off and they put it in bags. Those things used to be grown, processed, or turned into tar, which is a very easy way to turn it into a substance that you can smoke or shoot or do anything else with. Tar heroin. Okay. The poppy is only going to let that be so strong. So depending on how strong the poppy plant is, that's the peak. Super strong poppies will make super strong heroin. But there's nothing you can do to refine that past the point of the plant. You understand? However, with opioids, which are made in a lab and have never seen a poppy, you can just continue to multiply it and multiply it and multiply it and multiply it. So that when this stuff gets into the body and it attaches to the receptors, it doesn't turn the receptor on. It snaps the pipe in half. You understand? Think of the receptor as that thing on the outside of your house that you hook up a hose to, right? The tap on the outside of your home. What happens is, once the opiate gets into the body, or the opioid gets into the body, it attaches to that receptor. And that receptor starts to flood out chemicals that are already in your body. That's what kills you. You understand? The drug is just a switch. But opioids, they make a switch so strong that your body releases all of the chemicals at once. And the next thing you know, it's lights out. And then there's no hope anymore to help these people. Once the last breath is taken, the kind of things that we try to do here at the lifeboat are over. And it's another person gone. We're not write-offs. We're human beings. And the sad part is, when you look at the days gone by, right? Go back to the 70s. My bobbleheaded partner used to talk about this eloquently. But when you went back to the 70s, the first heroin epidemic of America's history, North American history, 7,000 people died in a year, and it was astounding. They could not believe the numbers, right? But there were a ton of people that could do just about as much of that crap as they wanted to, because you build a tolerance that the poppy can't outgrow. You understand? You build a tolerance that would require unbelievable amounts of money. I was doing $700 a day, right? And very rarely did I even nod out. But if I were using today, people, I'd be dead in a week. Because the stuff on the street today isn't drugs. Make no mistake. It's poison. If you saw the thumbnail, you saw two different flags with a very angry captain standing in between the two of them. That would be me, right? The big-eared angry captain. Those two flags, one would be from the country to south of our border. The other flag would be the beast from the east. If you don't think they're in bed to kill Americans, then you're not thinking about this very logically. We've talked about this many times before, and I will continue to talk about it because it makes so much sense that if you don't get this, I question your intelligence. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. Who makes a product that kills their customers stronger? Huh? Why would you do that? You can't get money from dead people. Why would you continue to make your product stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger if you're already killing people with the first batch? This is the world that we're living in, people. This is the world that we are living in. The only good news, honestly, the shining spot is people like Rudy, right? People like Marfugel. The fact that big channels are starting to yell about this is going to get something done. It really is. I don't know if I don't know how often Marv stops by for sure. I don't know if Rudy ever sees this channel, but if you do, you're one of my heroes, man. I mean that. The only thing is, don't believe anything you read in the press. You want to do a little of this on your own? Don't believe me either. But you want to do a little research on your own? Pick a couple of big cities and just read about the number of deaths from overdoses over the course of a weekend. And then do the math. And then say, how in hell are they saying that we're going to have less than 100,000? Don't think they're not trying to downplay this, people. The saddest part of this story is that the Republicans will let us die to score points against Democrats. And Democrats will let us die to score points against Republicans. They don't care about us anymore. It's not about that. It's about staying in power. Sadly, that really is the world that we live in. And I'll tell you something. There was a period of time in my life where if you told me that you were preparing for the end of the world and that you had food and water and things put up, I might have laughed at you. For real. Now, if you tell me you're not preparing, I might laugh at you. This is the world we're in. Right now, people, America's broke, right? We don't have a dollar to our name. If you look at the gross domestic product of this country, and you look about how much money we got going out, the world is in deep trouble. And there has been, throughout history, the more a country gets in debt, the more they clamp down on the people who live in that country. We've watched this story happen so many times. Nothing new under the sun. History, if you don't pay attention to it, you're doomed to repeat it. Well, I got news for you. This has all happened before. And it's happening again to what was one of the greatest countries ever. But we're going to hell in a handbasket. I know that we're a channel that helps people get sober. But if you're dead, you can't get sober. You can't. You can't. They're trying to erode our country from the ground up. If you have a country where 20%, 1 out of every 5 people in your country, uses drugs at least once a year, and you make the drug supply deadly, bad things happen. We're watching them happen. And you know what? There's a couple of people, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't watch news, right? I listen to it occasionally, but I don't watch a lot of it. But when somebody takes up the mantle and starts screaming about this, all of you email me, right? I get emails from everybody, and they'll say, I heard this on this channel, or I heard this on that channel. Greta Van Susteren is as angry as I am. And every single time that woman goes on the air, there is a part of her day that she talks about this. She interviews people, she talks about statistics, and she doesn't trump them up. I mean, real facts. I'm not saying that to score political points with one party or another. I'm telling you because if you're doing something about this, well then, I'm behind you. And I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, but something's got to be done, people. Something's got to be done, right? So, today, I was talking to a couple of guys that I sell watches to. It's really the only relationship I have with these people is that they're people that I sell watches to. And it occurred to me that I'm telling everybody on the planet that they need to do something. So I said to these people, you got any grandkids? Right? The gentleman is of that age. He said, yeah, I got a bunch of them. I said, they're living in a really dangerous world. And then I spent about 5 or 10 minutes telling them what's going on. That conversation has to happen every single day. It has to happen every day. And every single one of us needs to have that conversation every single day. We're not going to win the war on drugs. I honestly believe it's too far gone. I really do. But when we lose a Jared, that hurts, right? That's the battle. That's not the war. And we lost that battle. I don't want to lose any more battles. I reached out to a couple of people today on the boat who I know are still using. And I was as nice as could be. But I said, I know you think that this stuff is, you can safely do this. And I know that you think that your habit is, strong enough. And a couple of them said, you know what? Truthfully, it scares me. So I'm not picking on anybody. But if you told me today that it scares you, then step up to the plate. Because the time has come that you got to say, I'm done. Right? I want to challenge everybody to talk to somebody. Make one person a day. Trust me, I'm going to talk to more than that. But try to talk to one person a day and say to them, hey man, if you got any kids, right, please. Hold on 1 second here. The war's on. Yeah, absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Hold on 1 second. All right, sorry, just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Stay with us, Tommy. Sorry, I got screens everywhere now, man. I'm learning. You got to give me. You got to cut me a little bit of slack on this. The truth of the matter, people, is you got to talk to a person every single day. One a day. Miss Dragon is doing incredible work. If you haven't gone over and seen what she's doing, go over and listen to this person. This woman is going out there and talking about this. This is becoming personal with her. I want this to become personal with all of us. I want this to become personal with every single one of us. Right? I want a campaign that's never wearing another tie, right? I'm not going to put on another tie campaign ever. That's the one I want, right? I really want that to be the case for the rest of the time that I'm here. It's not worth losing your freedom for temporary fulfillment. A lot of truth to that. It's a lot of truth to that. It's also not worth losing your life, right? It's not worth losing your life. There are ways to get clean. People are doing it. Every day people are doing it. It can be done. There are substances out there. And I tell you what, people, when we talk about the statistics that I just spit out, can you imagine if I added alcohol to that? Seriously. Can you imagine if we added weed and alcohol to that? This entire country is getting high. This entire country is getting high. We got to be there for these people. We really do. There's got to be a platform. And the platform has to get bigger. This is a growing epidemic. I don't want to see you in a tie either. Thank you, T. This is a growing epidemic. I don't think you have any idea how excited I am that we own that. A growing epidemic. Boy, if there's ever been a .com that should have been owned by the lifeboat, that's it. We're going to develop that, and we're going to do things. We are people. And I want to say thank you to every single one of you who has gotten the membership. To those of you who haven't, does not upset us. It really doesn't. Over the course of my 2 days off, I did videos for everybody because I don't want anyone to feel like they're getting left out. But for the people that have the opportunity to do it, you're helping. You're making a difference. I'm going to be doing videos for you. We got the equipment now. I should say I got the equipment now. People, the reason that wasn't happening is I couldn't put much more on my bobbleheaded partner, right? So I needed to learn to do some editing, and I needed to learn to do some other stuff, and I needed to buy some cool hardware. And I'll be honest with you, in the last 3 days, I have spent more money on the lifeboat than I have spent since I got started. And it didn't come out of your pocket. None of that money came out of your pocket. That money came out of mine. And I'm not saying that to brag, but I want you to know that the money that you're spending is going for what's important. 2 today, people. 2. There are 2 people today who we took off the roulette wheel, right? That, I can't tell you how good that feels. I hope everybody is as excited about that as I am, you know? Because we are in a time where we're fighting for each other's lives. I'm not making that bigger than anything or trying to make it sound bigger than it is. I will end up where I end up. I have been pushed and I can't go backwards anymore. Yeah. I would like to shout out a couple of people. M. Hunt, I am so proud of you, brother. I am proud of you. Getting up off of the deck after a relapse is not an easy thing to do. But to do it the way you're doing it, you're attacking it, and I'm proud of you, man. I really am. I'm proud of you. I want to thank a big shout out as well to Brandon. Brandon has been on the boat since it's been a boat. And he's fallen down and he's gotten up. And he's fallen down and he's gotten up. And he's over a month. And I'll tell you something. He picked me up this morning. He really did. He was one of those people that reached out to me this morning and he sent something that I read at about 3:30, 4 a.m. about how everybody, right? Every day, you're a new creation, right? I am too. Every single day. When the sun comes up, I got a chance to be a little bit better. Every one of us does. In the next 30 to 40 days, I want everybody who's taken this poison to stop taking this poison. 40 days to freedom, right? In the next 40 days, if you're on this stuff, it's got to stop. I said this last night during the tribute to Jared. If you're doing fent, and that's how you're not getting sick, because you're not getting high anymore. Keep it real, right? You're taking this stuff so that you don't get sick. And if you're taking it, there's a batch out there right now with your name on it. Might still be south of the border. For real. Might still be on a cargo ship coming in from the beast from the east. But there's a batch out there with your name on it. When that batch gets to you, I'm going to be putting on a tie. Think about it. You know? I know no one likes seeing me in a tie. But forget me. Think about your family. Think about the things in life that are more important than getting high. I'm not trying to bum anybody out. And if this sounds like I'm judging you in any way, I have come on here and admitted everything I've ever done. I've come on here, almost everything I've ever done. There are things I'm just not going to talk about. But almost everything I've ever done. I've come on here and told you about my criminal record. I have come on here. No more ties. Thank you, T. Prada. It should be a battle cry, man. No more ties. 40 days to freedom. In the next 40 days, I don't want anybody on the boat doing that crap. For real. And if you think, wow, all I'm doing is a little bit of Adderall. Don't think you're just doing a little bit of Adderall. Tell you what, when we're done here today, take a couple minutes of your time. Take a couple of minutes of your time. And I want you to Google, right, the number of people who overdosed on fent while they thought they were doing cocaine or ice or amphetamines or anything else. Look at the numbers. And you know where you'll get them from? Our government. Which means that as scary as they are, you're being lied to. I promise you they're worse. Read about the people, the homeless population in California, who they say are dropping dead. Dropping dead? Yeah. If you don't take the time to find out why someone dropped dead, you can say that. What's happening is there are so many people who just every once in a while take an Adderall. Every once in a while take a benzo. You know, we talk about addiction here. The percentage of people who do drugs, who become addicted to drugs, believe it or not, is not a huge number. Well, prior to fent. It's not a huge number. So there are a ton of people out there who are still recreational, hate that term, but there are still a bunch of people out there who just get high every once in a while. You understand? They just get high. But if a half a pill can kill somebody that had a serious habit, what do you think it can do to someone who doesn't? It's gotta happen now, people. If you're doing this stuff, it has to happen now. We're to the point where there's no turning back. If you continue to get high, this stuff is going to kill you. It's going to kill you. It's not a drug anymore. You hear me? It's a poison. It's a weapon. This is their attempt to destroy our country. Please, for the love of God, tell me you see that. Please, make me believe you see that. Can I get a deuce? Give me a 2 in the comments if you see that. If you realize that this is not just a strong batch of something, but that this is a country that's literally trying to destroy our country and our way of life. Look at that. Okay, if you put up one of those deuces, then you can't go out and continue to get high on this stuff. Right? You know what I want to do? I want to have a party in about a year from now, and I want to burn my tie. I really do. Tanya D, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Tanya, I want you to know something, just in case anyone else. You know what happens every time somebody does that? For real? Almost all of that money ends up at a place called Quick MD. Quick MD. If you're listening to me, you've never heard me talk about this before, Quick MD is a place that you can go and see a doctor tonight on your phone. Worst case scenario, you'll see him tomorrow. And they will write you a prescription for medical assisted treatment, and you will never have to step foot into an office. You won't have to take drug tests, none of that. These are laws that have changed to protect us. It's one of the only things they've done. Noise Opera, I love you, brother. Love the deuces. I really do. But that's where this money goes. It goes to help people who can't make that happen. My tie is skinny. But yeah, I would like to have a ceremony, and I would like to burn that tie. I would also like to never do Buddha looking good, man. I would also like to never do another show where I take off this hat. You know? Or, even worse, I don't get to show you the cat in the basket. I realize that the vast majority of you are here to see squirrel. For real. You know? It was sad to have the cat in the basket and not show anybody last night. I don't want to do those shows ever again. I don't. And enough of you reached out to me and told me that show ripped your heart out. It ripped out mine too. You got to believe that. You got to believe that. Last night was a difficult show to watch, but it was a more difficult show to do. It really was. Family Landscapes, thank you. I really appreciate you. But people, if you think last night was a tough show to do, how do you think that was for Elizabeth to watch? Liz. How tough was that show for her to watch? if I know that when I was on dope, that I forgot everything about me. I didn't care about me. I didn't. That's what dope does. But you know something? In the depths of my just absolute degenerate life, I still loved my family. And I still worried about my family. You know what? I don't know an addict that when they seriously sit and think about it, don't think, my God, what would me ODing do to my family? If you're on this crap, Quick MD. By the way, I'm not getting any kickback from Quick MD. You got a faster way to get on this stuff? Tell me about it, because we'll give them their name. But I use them. That's how I got on the stuff. That's how I got on MAT. AKA Heather Joy. Good to see you, Heather. You know what? Heather's a fighter. Heather is a fighter. And I'm so glad that you're here, Heather. I really am. I'm so glad that you are here. I'm so glad all of you are here. You know, we got a crew. Seventh Son. The Burn the Tie Fund. I like it. I like it. Thank you. You know what, Seventh? Seventh is always there at the right time. Really. All right, people. I'm going to wrap this thing up. A couple of things that I really want to hammer home before we end this show, right? A couple of takeaways that are big. The biggest takeaway is don't you let anybody tell you that there's not enough people getting high to worry about it. Right? Because it's over 50 million people a year are doing illicit drugs. 50 million people a year. Right? There's 330 million Americans, people. So when we're talking about over 50 million of them, don't let anybody tell you any of those stupid things. The statistics are out there. They're by our government. You can Google them. You can read them. You know what's funny too? The Center for Disease Control and SAMHSA both said this year, you can't really compare one year to the next and look at the increases and think that that's, indicative. When they start talking like that, you're being lied to. How the hell can you not look at 2019, see that 2020 is worse, and not think that that's bad? They start telling you crap like that, you know the government is lying to you. You know what they're saying? Well, the reason for this is because of that C+ math. Everybody got locked down, and because of that, now, I'm not going to lie to you. You lock people down, you don't let them leave the house, and you give them free money. There's a good chance they're going to develop a drug habit. Or if they ever had one, do the math. 50 million people a year are going to do an illicit drug at one point. Okay, at some point during the year, they're going to get high. Give them a buttload of money and don't let them leave the house. You think they might get high? Yeah. Well, go figure. What they were getting high on was fent. So don't let anybody lie to you about any of that. Okay? And don't let anybody believe any of this garbage that there's anybody in this country in office that thinks that building a border wall will not protect. Because if that were the case, we wouldn't be giving $500 million to one country, $1 billion to a couple of others, 50 million to Mexico. Was it 50 million? Let me make sure I didn't misquote that. 75 million to Mexico to build a wall at their southern border. But we don't need one. We don't need one. The takeaway, people, is you don't need to be Nostradamus. You don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need to be a brain surgeon. Squirrel can figure out that our problem is coming through the southern border. Seriously, Squirrel's got that under control. And Squirrel still chases her tail. How people can possibly believe that tightening up our border isn't going to make us safer. I don't care what party you're a part of. And you know how I can prove that? Because the Dems loved the idea. Seriously, go research it. They loved it. Until a Republican wanted to do it and campaigned on it. Then they immediately all changed their tune. Every one of them turned overnight into saying, well, that's a bad idea. Those things don't do anything. You know what that proves? Proves who we elect. We elect dog crap. You know who we need to elect, people? Honestly, plumbers, carpenters, school teachers, right? We elect politicians. People don't even have jobs. What do? They have to write laws. How many laws can you possibly write? They're throwing money away. Throwing money away. The amount of money that they have just put out to fight the war on this opiate epidemic, they could have just built the wall with. Look at how much money got blown. I'm not kidding you. Research it. Noise opera, thank you. What happened to Johnny's favorite tie? You know what? There used to be a sort of a, I don't know what the right word is, a tradition. Back in the day when we worked in offices and you sold, you got to an office and when you made your first big sale on, we used to sell very, very big, I don't mean $100 sales, these were a lot of money. And when you made your first one on a telephone, it was a tradition to go over and cut the person's tie off, right? And then you would, basically that was your kind of initiation. And believe he stupidly wore a really nice tie on a day where it was pretty obvious he was going to be making that first sale after qualifications. So his fault, not mine, or anyone else's for that matter. Tommy Bird, I don't know about Medicaid, but they accepted my insurance. Here's the deal. QuickMD, there are places that allow insurance to cover some of that stuff, and there are places that don't because of how we do what we do in this country. When you start crossing state lines, different things. You're not talking about the tie I threw out the window. I may have also thrown one of Johnny's ties. I may have also tossed one of Johnny's ties out of a window once. I might have. Anyway. Once you start crossing state lines, it gets a little dicey. But if you're trying to get medical assisted treatment and things aren't working, there are states that don't allow this. For those states, you've got to go see a doctor, right? Believe it or not, we're working on that. And I mean we, right? The lifeboat. This is one of the things that we write. We send blast out emails. While I have been doing this, I think 14 more states have opened that allow this to happen, for people to just get medical assisted treatment that way. Hold on one second. The wall didn't even have to be a physical barrier in a sense, more of a proverbial object. That money could have walled off more drugs than honestly, just fight the damn battle, because they're not fighting it. The money that they are allocating to fight a growing epidemic isn't even being used. You understand that it sits in a fund, and then someone like me has to draw up a proposal and go to them. The people who are drawing up the proposals to go get this money are people who are trying to do counseling and things like that. It's not what's going to do this. It's not what's going to do this. Seriously, you almost have to be. There has to be. You're right. I don't care if it's a physical border. It just has to be. A physical barrier, but it has to be a wall that doesn't allow in dope. And I don't care what party steps up to the plate. And then the last takeaway of the evening, people. The last takeaway of the evening is Mark Wages worked his tail off for this dream. The man has earned a little bit of peace, right? A little bit of quiet. I promise you, there are going to be days where I'm going to say, and on the other side of the glass, and he's going to say Captain Mark Wages. But it isn't going to be for a hot minute. And until that happens, the man needs to be left alone. There's just as a favor to me, I know you guys, and you're loving and caring, and every one of you are going to want to reach out and tell him that you love him, and that the man doesn't have the time right now to be looking at emails. If he did, he'd be on the other side of the glass. But he's got stuff going on with his family, and a time will come when Mark can explain all of that. But now's not that time. So if you could just, you know what? Everybody should drink a big glass of blue Kool-Aid tonight in honor of blue Kool-Aid, blue 52. But let's leave him alone as far as emails and texts and things like that, and let him just get right with everything he's got going on. There is no question. Somebody just texted me and said Mark is a great guy. There's no question. Alrighty, people. Thanks to the big channels that are out there making it happen. Thank you. It's courageous, and I got mad respect for all of you. People, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. I will be back tomorrow. Same squirrel time, same squirrel channel. And the moment everyone has been waiting for. That is a cat in the basket. Good night, everybody. We love you. Thanks, squirrel. Well played.